The Resurrection of Walter Cowan by Mr. Walter Cowan. Ever since they got the blessed privilege to know Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, Mr. Walter Cowan and Mrs. Elsie Cowan regularly visited Prashanti Nilayam and Whitefield. Their shrine at their home in Tustin, California, was known to many as the Jasmine Shrine, since it was permeated by the distinct fragrance of jasmine flowers, an undeniable indication of Bhagwan's presence for many devotees. Even the picture in that shrine was mysteriously placed there by Swami in answer to Mrs. Cowan's prayer for that particular picture, which she failed to acquire in India despite her best efforts. On one occasion, in response to a sincere prayer from the Cowans for a sign of Baba's presence, an 8-red star jewel appeared in that picture for many days, and many devotees were blessed to witness the miracle. Vibhuti showered from the pictures at their Tustin home just as it does in the homes of countless devotees in India and around the world. Hundreds have seen the sacred Vibhuti shower and returned home, convinced of Baba's irrefutable divine blessings, which transcend the laws of science. However, among the many miracles that the Cowans have experienced, the resurrection of Mr. Walter Cowan stands out among the most celebrated and documented ones, fondly recalled by his devotees. It is as profound and magnificent as the resurrection of Lazarus of Bethany by Jesus Christ. Here is a summary of the astounding recollections of that sacred episode based on the narrations of notable and ardent devotees of Swami, Dr. Jack, John, Heaslop, Professor Narayan Kasturi, Mrs. Ratan Lal, and the chief beneficiaries themselves, Mrs. Elsie Cowan and Mr. Walter Cowan. Sudden death. Mrs. Elsie Cowan and Mr. Walter Cowan arrived in Madras, now known as Chennai, on 23 December 1971, to attend a conference that Swami was hosting. More than 3,000 presidents of various Sai Seva Samitis were in attendance. The Cowans checked into the Connemara Hotel, and later arrived at the venue. Baba at once gave them a warm and affectionate welcome. Mr. Cowan was not feeling well, so the ushers gave him a chair to sit down on that day and during subsequent darshan. On the morning of the 25th of December, Christmas Day, news spread quickly among the devotees that an elderly American had had a fatal heart attack and had passed away. Soon the word was out that it was Mr. Cowan. Mr. Cowan had suffered from what seemed like convulsions early that morning, around 2:30 a.m. and it appeared that he was having a severe heart attack. Mrs. Cowan prayed to Swami for help at that most trying moment of her life. With great self-control and understanding of human mortality, she ended her prayer with, "Let God's will be done." She then reached out to Mrs. Ratan Lal, who was staying almost next door with her husband. It was around 3 a.m. When Mrs. Ratan Lal opened the door, Mrs. Cowan was crying. Come, help me. Help me. Walter is in serious condition." Mrs. Ratan Lal immediately followed her to the room and saw that Mr. Cowan was still having convulsions. Knowing that Walter is also a diabetic and seeing his condition, she told Mrs. Cowan to hold him down because he could fall from the bed and injure his bones. But soon, his body stopped shaking, became stiff, and appeared lifeless. Mrs. Cowan was now distraught. She kept saying, "Baba, Baba, Baba. Swami, Swami." Mrs. Ratan Lal reminded her, "Elsie, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We can't disturb Swami at this hour. Let us go to him in a few hours." The ambulance was called, and Walter was taken to the missionary hospital, Lady Willingdon Nursing Home, but Mrs. Cowan knew that her husband had died in her arms. She was exhausted and did not accompany the then lifeless body into the ambulance. At around 7 a.m., Mrs. Cowan recovered enough strength to go with Mrs. Ratan Lal to Baba's residence to tell him the news and ask for his advice and help. And the resurrection, even as they reached the divine residence of Swami that morning, Mrs. Cowan went on calling her beloved Lord. Swami, Swami, Swami. Swami looked through the window and saw the two women standing at the door. He beckoned to Mrs. Ratanlal alone to come up. She went to him and conveyed what had happened. He said, "You go back. See where the nursing home is, find out the visiting hours, and then at 9 o'clock, we will go." Once Mrs. Ratanlal had found out all the details, at 8:45 a.m., Swami said, "Let us go now." So, Swami, along with two nurses, two hospital doctors, and the third doctor who had brought Cowan to the hospital, left for the hospital. Swami asked Mrs. Ratanlal to accompany him. "What about Mrs.?" she ventured to ask, but he immediately said again, "Leave Mrs. Cowan here." Swami then blessed the grieving wife, told her to wait, and left. When they arrived in the hospital room, Mr. Cowan's body was fully covered with a white sheet. Swami asked one of the nurses to remove the sheet. The nose and ears were all plugged with cotton. The face was also tied with a cotton bandage, all part of preparations for the disposal of a dead body. Swami asked them to remove all of these. Then, he removed the sheet further and started hitting Mr. Cowan on his stomach with his hand. He called out his name, "Walter." There was no response. The second time, again, he hit him and called out, "Walter." There was still no response. And the third time, Swami hit him hard on his stomach. Lo and behold, Mr. Walter Cowan slowly opened his eyes. A thrill of awe and inexplicable joy coursed through Mrs. Ratanlal, who was standing there and witnessing this amazing miracle. A man who was dead had come back to life. All the nurses and the doctors present there immediately fell at Swami's lotus feet. Swami blessed them and, turning toward Mrs. Ratanlal, said, "Now, go and bring Mrs. Cowan." The attending doctor's confession at 10 a.m., Mrs. Ratanlal returned to the hospital accompanied by Mrs. Cowan. Baba had left just before they arrived. Mrs. Ratanlal had not said anything to Mrs. Cowan, who was overwhelmed to find Walter very much alive. A discerning reader might ponder, was there medical verification that Mr. Cowan had died? After all, neither of the ladies could have verified if Mr. Cowan was dead or alive the way a medical doctor would. This is well clarified by the findings of Judge Damodar Rao of Madras, the father of Mr. Narendra, then the principal of the Satya Sai College at Whitefield, Bangalore. He interviewed the doctor who had attended Mr. Cowan when he arrived at the hospital. The attending physician was personally known to Judge Damodar Rao. The doctor told Judge Rao that Mr. Cowan was dead when he was fully examined shortly after the ambulance delivered his body to the hospital. The doctor said there were no clinical signs of life, and so he pronounced Mr. Cowan dead. He instructed the staff to have Mr. Cowan's ears and nose plugged with cotton to prevent decay, cover the body with a sheet, and move it into a vacant room. The doctor then left the hospital on some other professional duty and missed Swami when he came to the hospital. The doctor returned only after Swami had left the hospital and, to his utter surprise, found Mr. Cowan very much alive. Triple resurrection. As Swami returned from the hospital, he told Dr. Heaslop and others within hearing distance that Mr. Walter Cowan had indeed died, that the hospital had plugged his ears and nose with cotton, covered him over with a sheet, and left the body in a closed room. Baba said that he had brought Walter back to life as everyone listened with rapt attention. A day later, on 26th December, Sri Appa, an ardent senior devotee, and Dr. Heaslop accompanied Swami to the home of a devotee. From there, they went to a meeting of lady members of the Nigara Sai Samiti, where Swami gave awards and delivered his divine discourse fluently, without any break or hesitation. Sri Appa and Dr. Heaslop sat on the stage just a few feet from Swami. After the meeting, they were to go to the home of another devotee for lunch. As soon as Swami got in the car, he turned to the duo and said, "While I was giving the discourse, Mrs. Cowan called me. I at once went to the hospital and did what was necessary." Mr. Cowan's health had taken a turn for the worse. Sri Appa and Dr. Heaslop looked at each other in wonderment and awe. Swami had continued his discourse and presence on the stage for the whole time while he had also gone to the hospital and done what was necessary. How does anyone explain this mystery? When they reached the devotee's house for lunch, Swami turned to the duo and said, "You will not be able to join me for lunch. Take this vibhuti to the hospital and give it to Mr. Cowan. Put some in his mouth and rub the rest on his forehead and chest. If you walk to the corner over there, you will find Mrs. Heaslop in a taxi. She will take you to the hospital." When they reached the hospital with the vibhuti, Mrs. Cowan said, "Walter's condition took a very bad turn just a little while ago. I thought he was dead, and I was terrified. I at once called aloud to Baba for help. When I called Baba, I felt his presence at once. Now Walter seems a little improved." Mrs. Cowan had simply and spontaneously corroborated Baba's narration in the car to Sri Appa and Dr. Heaslop. A week or so later, when the Covans were still in Madras as Mr. Cowan was still recouping in the hospital, Swami told Dr. Heaslop, "Today I received a telegram from Mrs. Cowan. Mr. Cowan was in a very serious condition again." I answered the telegram. "Mr. Cowan will be out of the hospital soon and will come to Bangalore. It is my sankalp, my will." Of course, there was no physical telegram. The telegram was Mrs. Cowan's ardent, heartfelt prayer. In the same conversation, Baba said, "Mr. Cowan died 3 times. I had to bring him back to life 3 times." Mr. Cowan's first-hand narration and revelations. Mr. Cowan himself narrated the events he had experienced first-hand, with all the details to his wife. "While in the Connemara Hotel in Madras, 2 days after I arrived, I was taken very ill with pneumonia and was in bed. As I gasped for breath, suddenly, all the body struggle was over, and I died. I found myself very calm, in a state of wonderful bliss, and the Lord, Sai Baba, was by my side. Even though my body lay on the bed, dead, my mind kept working throughout the entire period of time until Baba brought me back. There was no anxiety or fear but a tremendous sense of well-being, for I had lost all fear of death. When Baba took me to a very large hall, there were hundreds of people milling around. It was the hall where all the records of all my previous and present lives were kept. Baba and I stood before the court of justice. The one in charge knew Baba very well, and he asked for the records of all my lives. He was very nice and kind, and I had the feeling that whatever was decided would be the best for my soul. The records were brought into the hall, armloads of scrolls, and all of them seemed to be in different languages. As they were read, Baba interpreted them. In the beginning, they told me of countries that had not existed for thousands of years, and I could not recall them. When they reached the era of King David, the reading of my lives became more exciting. I could hardly believe how great I was in each life that followed. As they continued reading about my lives, it seemed that what really counted was my motive and character, as I stood for outstanding peace, spirituality, and governance. I do not remember all the names, but I was included in almost all the history books of the world from the beginning of time. As I incarnated in different countries, I continued to carry out my mission for peace and spirituality. After about 2 hours, they finished reading the scrolls, and the Lord, Sai Baba, said that I had not completed the work that I was born to do. He asked the judge that I be turned over to him to complete my mission of spreading the truth. He requested that my soul be returned to my body, under Baba's grace. The judge said, "So be it." The case was dismissed, and I left with Baba to return to my body. I hesitated to leave this wonderful bliss, but I knew it was best to complete my mission so that I could merge with the Lord, Sai Baba. I related the story to Elsie at once, and she recorded it. I also talked it over with Baba, and he said it was not my imagination, it was a true experience. Swami performs the second marriage of the Cowan's Dr. Heaslop, always precise in his documentation, asked Swami whether Mr. Cowan's narration was true. Swami replied, "The experience was a real experience, not an illusion. It was an experience occurring within Mr. Cowan's mind, and I was, myself, there directing and clarifying the thoughts." The mind, as Swami says, travels across births. Mr. Heaslop then asked if every person has a similar experience at death. Swami replied that it was not necessarily so. Some had a similar experience, and some did not. Swami later told Mrs. Cowan that Mr. Cowan was strong enough to make the 15-mile drive out to Whitefield each morning and that he was to return to the hotel at noon each day and rest during the afternoon. Dr. Gyaneshwaran was his attending physician in Bangalore. He considered himself extremely fortunate because he would be in the room when Swami visited Mr. Cowan. Mrs. Cowan graciously allowed him to bring his family inside the room to have Baba's darshan. Being Mr. Cowan's physician, Dr. Gyaneshwaran was also privileged to be in Swami's residence at Whitefield to witness Swami performing a very beautiful and significant Vedic wedding ceremony for the Cowans. Swami called the Cowans to his presence at Brindavan, Whitefield, and invited a few devotees like Dr. Bhagwantham, the Heaslops, Ms. Indra Devi, and Mr. Richard Bock for the ceremony. The ceremony included exchanging rings, flower garlands, and marriage vows. Vedic hymns were recited. The American group and the students of the college at Brindavan sung bhajans. Swami explained the meaning and purpose of the Vedic rites, celebrated when persons reached the ages of 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. He blessed the happy couple by creating wedding rings and jewels. He then asked the Cowans to narrate the story of Walter's death and resurrection. A new Walter Cowan, Dr. Gyaneshwaran, was the physician who attended Mr. Cowan in Bangalore. He had Mr. Cowan's medical history and details of laboratory tests showing severe diabetes of long standing, as well as various other coexisting conditions. After assuming his responsibility, the doctor compared the findings of Mr. Cowan's laboratory tests done in the USA with the laboratory tests he did in Bangalore. He could scarcely believe the new results. Not only were the diabetic symptoms completely absent, but the tests for other coexisting disease conditions were all negative. He explained, "Only Baba, only God himself could do this." The extraordinary fact was that when the total organism that was Walter Cowan died, the only entity that returned to life was Mr. Cowan's soul or Atma. Mr. Cowan's various diseases died with his body, and the diseases were not reborn. Only Mr. Cowan was reborn. Mr. Cowan's mental state had also changed. Both the Cowans confessed that previously, Mr. Cowan was one of the world's champion warriors. In the past, he was filled with worry and fear that this or that unfortunate event might occur, and that the desired outcome may not happen. But after this event, the new Mr. Cowan became calm, free from worry, with no fear of death or anything else. A peaceful end. On 8 May 1973, Walter Cowan wrote to Professor Kasturi, "We are delighted that you are printing the story of Sri Satya Sai Baba bringing me back to life. Everyone seems very interested in hearing this story, and it gives them encouragement to hear that there really is no death, just the loss of the physical body. It rids people of the fear of death. I am really feeling fine. Would you believe this? I have gained about 30 pounds since coming back." Swami has declared that when devotees whom he chose were threatened with fatal accidents or untimely death, he rescues them so that they may continue to be instruments for his mission. He also says that he shows his presence during their dying moments and showers consolation, courage, and comfort to devotees who have won his compassion. 18 months after his resurrection, Mr. Walter Cowan passed away peacefully in California. Sri Ra Ganpati records in his book that Swami sent a telegram to Mrs. Elsie Cowan, stating, "Rani, Queen, Walter arrived here in good shape. Our beloved Swami not only takes care of our welfare, but also our farewell. He makes us focus on truth during our lives and ensures that we attain it even in our passing. Jai Sai Ram." Mr. Walter Cowan.